Hey guys, Christina Previtt here with the PT on Ice Older Adult Edition. So today I have my husband as my trusty cameraman and we are here in the gym. I thought today we would talk a little bit about scaling options for the older adult to start strengthening some of our upper body pulling muscles. So some of that upper back, mid back, low back, those musculature that tend to be relatively weak on a lot of our older clients. I'd be amiss if I didn't first talk about posture. So when we're thinking about our older clients, we think about the fact that they've accumulated more injuries, more things have happened throughout their life, and just age-related changes are going to be happening in their spine. We tend to see a lot of mechanical kyphosis. This can also be with some of our older clients related to osteoporosis and compression or wedge fractures that have happened particularly throughout the thoracic spine. So you want to make sure whenever you're doing any of these upper extremity pulling exercises that you're really trying to make sure that you are doing a good history and you know where their aches and pains are and how their body is moving. Okay, we're gonna start from bare bones and try and build up to some of these more advanced upper extremity pulling exercises that I still believe a lot of older adults can be able to accomplish. So the first is just getting them to know how to pull their shoulder blades back. So that can be a strictly motor control exercise because I often see a lot of my older clients really like to engage the upper fibers of their trap when they're doing any sort of pulling exercise, just because it's something that they're used to. And often we can have a lot of reduced movement of the shoulder blade, so a lot less of being able to really pull their shoulder blades back. So often when I'm working with any of my older clients and we're working on some of these upper body pulling exercises, I really start to get them just to figure out first how to squeeze their shoulder blades together. So they have that, we're good with the movement, it looks optimal for their biomechanics and their body and what their body has experienced, then we can start adding load. I'm gonna give you a couple of different options for applying load to the older adults and the ways to scale and progress these exercises. So often in the outpatient orthopedic setting, we don't have a ton of weight equipment available to us. So the TheraBands are a really good way to start working on some of those upper back muscles. And often what we use is a TheraBand or a loop around some sort of pole. We can give this as a home exercise by getting people to wrap the TheraBand around a doorknob and closing the door. But the important part here is making sure that we cue them appropriately. So when we have a person with a TheraBand, I'm gonna get my cameraman to come a little bit this way. Thank you. We are really setting our shoulder blades back, making sure we're in a good position and alignment. We're not leaning too far back. Hopefully I don't fall over on Facebook Live. And you want to make sure that you're thinking about driving your shoulder blades back behind you, not letting that compensatory shoulder hike happen, dropping behind and really pulling the shoulder blades back behind you. Like Dustin and I talked about in some of the exercise prescription podcasts, we want to make sure that we're making this adequately challenging so that people, we give a 3 by 10, we don't want them to be doing 30 in a row because it really isn't that challenging. We want them to feel like 7, 8, 9, 10, we are really struggling, we are really challenging that individual. Okay, so here's one example. Another example is using a dumbbell. So when I have people in the gym, the two common rowing variations that you'll see kind of in a commercial or a small gym setting are a dumbbell row and a barbell row. The one thing about the barbell, so the weights can be a restriction. So here at Stave Off, we have 15-pound training bars, but some gym settings only have the 35 and 45-pound bars. So some of your older clients are gonna have to have a certain prerequisite amount of strength, sorry, our heater is going on, in order to be able to do that movement. The other thing about a barbell rowing variation is that you have to make sure that you're bending enough to be able to get into the plane of movement that we are looking for this exercise. The problem with that is that if there isn't enough lumbar or core strength to hold you in this position for a prolonged period of time, I've had some of my clients coming back the next day and really saying that their low back was a little bit jacked up, or their low back was feeling a lot of muscular soreness as a result, and it was just because they were used to staying in that forward flexed posture for a prolonged period of time. So I like to start people off with a dumbbell variation of a row. It's a little bit easier for people to grasp. There's a little bit more stability, and then you can change the weight and the rep scheme side to side, because we're often, of course, going to see asymmetries left to right, even though we're going to try and dose our exercise program for the less strong side. We have two very strong sides. One is just potentially a little bit less so. Okay, so I am putting my opposite leg. So if I'm doing a left-sided dumbbell row, my right knee is coming onto a bench, onto a chair, anything like that. My other hand is here to stabilize, and I'm working on keeping a good, strong back position. I always tell my clients to not be a chainsaw. So you're not trying to really crank through the upper body, because if we do that, then we're getting a ton of thoracic rotation, especially with some of our clients with osteoporosis. Doing that and loading can be not a good thing. So we want to make sure we're nice and straight. Back is set, and we are going to pull to the bottom part of the ribs and come back down. I even focus on my neck positioning. I'm not trying to be in this cervical hyperextension. I'm keeping myself nice and tucked in, even potentially doing a little bit of cervical retraction, just so that it's kind of cueing my client to be in this straight necked position. And you're gonna come in until you kind of feel the muscles in between the shoulder blades engaging and working. The way that we can scale this is obviously by changing some of the parameters of the program. So increasing the amount of reps that we're doing at a given weight, increasing the weight that we're doing for a given set, or adding increased sets to change the amount of volume or change the level of intensity. The one additional thing that I'm going to say is some of my clients, I'm gonna have to go grab something off camera very quickly, I forgot it. Some of my clients actually come in and they say the hardest part is that their hands are hurting. For example, if they have moderate to severe rheumatoid arthritis, which is affecting some of the small muscles or the small joints, in their hands, they're saying, well, I can do this, Christina, but it's hurting my hands, and that's the limiter. And so what we'll use, this is where my bro meathead self is kind of a benefit to me. I'm gonna run right off camera, 2 seconds. I thought I had prepped everything that I needed around me, but I did not. Is I'm gonna use a strap. And so this is commonly used by powerlifters and weightlifters just because they do a ton of pulling. You can grab these at a local supplement shop, and they're only about, I think, $15. They're not a lot. And so I like having these around. And what you do is you loop the strap in and around the wrist, and then loop it around the dumbbell. So what this does is that the small muscles, or the small joints rather, in my hand aren't doing a lot of work, and more of the weight is being distributed across my wrist. So I can often work on some of these upper extremity pulling motions with some of my clients who have moderate to severe arthritis in their hands by getting them to use a strap so that it's offloading some of those joints that are relatively painful. Not to say that working grip is not sometimes a therapeutic objective, but just when we're really working on some of these upper back musculature, that we're still able to apply an appropriate amount of load and get some of those strength gains that we're looking for. And then if you're in a small box setting, then you can also use something like a ring row. There's a little bit more of a confidence that needs to be built with the rings because you have to lean back, but essentially you're targeting the same musculature, and you can scale this movement by bringing your feet closer or further away from where the rings are mounted onto the exercise equipment. So the strap is probably the exercise hack that I'm gonna leave you guys with for today. Try some of these with your clients. Let me know in the comments how some of these exercises went, making sure that even with our older clients, we're providing enough of a progressive overload to see the change that we're looking to see. We are totally against underloading some of our exercises, obviously making sure that we are appreciating pain and other orthopedic injuries that may be present. So for today, leave it in the comments. We are super excited. The APHPT and the Modern Management of the Older Adult course has started this week. The fitness course is starting in a couple of weeks. So if you guys haven't got your spots, their signups are there for the next cohort starting in the spring. Otherwise, have a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday. Christina Previtt here, and make sure you tag me in those comments. Bye guys.